Hi guys, welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany as always. Today is Sunday the 10th of June 2018 and I'm so glad you're joining me today to talk about some knitting and yarn and just anything fiber related. So I'm trying to keep this short and snappy today, partly because after half a minute my voice is already going, so we'll see how that goes. But today I will talk about admin first, so knit-alongs, giveaways, that sort of thing, followed by finished objects, works in progress, and then some stash enhancement that has shown up on my doorstep. So first of all, we have a group on Ravelry called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group, which you can find there as well as linked underneath this video. And that is the place to be if you want to join in the knit-alongs, giveaways, ask questions, and so forth. At the moment we have two knit-alongs. The first one is the hashtag Summer Stash Down, and the idea is to just use your stash and try to get as many skeins as possible out of your stash until the end of August. And so many of you are joining in, which is so fun. So I think I'm going to do a surprise drawing sometime soon, so if you do want to join in, maybe now would be a good time. The second knit-along that we have running is the Couch and Crackers Socks knit-along, which is a selfish knit-along for my first and latest sock pattern, the Couch and Crackers socks. For this one, it only runs until the end of June, but because it's very short, I just opened a chatter thread, and you don't have to actually finish to be eligible for prizes. You can just join in, start a sock, pick your yarn, just start knitting and see how you go, and you will be entered to win a skein of Holland Handmade Co. yarn, which is the yarn that I used to design these socks myself. So that is it for the admin part, and let us just jump straight into some finished objects. But first, today, you guys, I am having tea. I don't know what's going on. This morning I woke up and I was having breakfast with Kai, and he made coffee, and I was like, I really want some tea. So I don't know what's going on with that. But I'm having green tea with lemon in case anyone's interested. What is it with podcasters and always talking about their tea? I only need to get a cat now, and then I'll be like the stereotypical podcaster. Anyways, finished objects. I have one that I didn't think I was going to have, but you might remember these socks. I was still working on the first one when I showed these to you last week. I had kind of stopped working on it, to be honest. And then I picked it up, and guess what? It went really, really fast. So we now have a pair of finished socks. These were knit out of West Yorkshire Spinners in their signature sock collection, which I think is their bird series, and this was the Kingfisher colorway. I just knit some plain vanilla socks using 64 stitches on a US size 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I did a Fish Lips Conceal plain vanilla sock otherwise, and they do match, which I am happy about. So I'll give you a close-up of the yarn, and then I'll kind of go more into the yarn in a second. So you might remember a while ago I did sort of like a sock yarn review where I talked about different commercial sock yarns and how they wore, and then I kind of stopped because I just ran out of sock yarns to talk about. But this gives me an opportunity to give you a short review, even though, first of all, I haven't worn these yet, and secondly, I'm not sponsored by anyone. This is just me babbling on about yarn that I tried and nothing else. So this was my first time knitting with the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn, and people had said before that it is quite a rough yarn. So I was really surprised that I don't think it is a rough yarn at all. Maybe they've changed their base, maybe I've just gotten lucky in terms of the yarn that I got, but I don't think this is a very rough yarn. It's quite soft in my opinion for a commercial yarn. It is not as soft as a Knit Picks Felicity would be, but it is much softer than your Regia or Opal or anything like that, in my opinion. The only qualm I have with this yarn is the fact that in terms of the patterning, you can see it's supposed to be like striping with blue and white, and then they just popped up these blue stripes, which I think they're not terrible, but they're just not perfect dyeing. But again, This is a commercial sock yarn. It isn't crazy expensive, so I think it all comes down to that. The only other thing I have to say is that there was a knot in my ball, which was a little bit annoying. I know knots happen and it's not the end of the world, but I think it's worth mentioning it because I've never had a knot in any of my Regia skeins, and I've knit quite a bit of those, so we'll see how it goes. I am really happy with this yarn. I think next time I might actually go down to a size 0 needle because the yarn is on the thin side in my opinion. But I really like how these turned out, and I'm going to keep them for myself and try and test the yarn and see how it wears over time. So yeah, that is my only finished object for this week, and yeah, I just really love this colorway. I think it is really, really fun. So with that, let us jump into works in progress. I have 4, but I'm only going to show you 3, which apparently is the latest theme of this podcast. And the first one I have to show you first because it's just this huge ball of knitting, or mess of knitting I should say, on my desk right now. And that is the Fading Point by Joji Locatelli. And yes, I keep talking about it because it is such a huge project. But you might remember that if you know the pattern, it is basically 2 very large pieces. So you have to knit the same thing twice and then you join it. And I am finally joining it. So this is going to be incredibly hard to show you guys, but there's one half, and then there is the other half, and I am joining it. So I knit my little hands off last night because I just really wanted to get to that part, and I am just fading back now, and I kind of want to at least finish the first little triangle on the side up here today. I'm not sure if that's realistic, but of course we are getting to the point where it is less stitches, so who knows. But this is how it's going to work, and then obviously you do the same at the bottom, and then you have a big rectangular shawl. So very excited about this. All the yarns that I've used I've talked about a million times, and they're on my project page, so just check it out there and I will go through them again when this piece is actually finished. I feel like this pattern should have a warning for stupid people like me saying, warning, this is a really huge project that will take you forever because it is so much knitting. This is 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn, and I think you use pretty much all of it. And I could have knit a sweater in the time, or I could probably knit 2 sweaters in the time that it took me to finish this. But it is really, really fun. The only modification I did is I went down to a 3.5mm needle, which is a US size 4, and I think with every fade I cut out 2 rows or something by accident and then kept going because I thought it was actually quite a good idea, because the thing is huge and that way I just run at a less risk of running out of yarn. So that is my huge Fading Point shawl, which I think realistically I might just use as a blanket rather than a shawl because it is huge and I haven't even blocked this. But we'll see how it goes. I really like it, and yeah. So that is my Fading Point. Next up, one sock project that I didn't bring out are my Mercury socks because I've barely worked on those. But I have started a new sock project, of course. And I decided to cast on with a sock blank from Sandra of Sandra's Craftfulness, because you might remember we had the sock blankathon quite recently and she donated a whole bunch of sock blanks, and I gave 2 of them away and kept 1 for myself. And I just thought, well, why don't I just knit it up? I was in a mood of I didn't really want to wind any yarn. So I picked this out of my stash. This is the sock blank. It's showing up a bit lighter than it actually is. It is quite in a dark purpley tone, and I really, really, really like it. I'll show you Sandra's label for a second. I don't think these have a name, but it's a superwash merino and nylon blend. And yeah. So that is the yarn, and of course, you might remember that I like to knit my sock. Sorry. I'm always worried about messing up my microphone with my hair. That might be a really annoying sound, but then maybe it isn't. Anyways, I like to knit my sock blanks for just vanilla socks, so that's what I did. I just cast on a plain stockinette sock. And isn't it beautiful? I love this so much. Again, it's kind of blowing out, but it's doing this micro striping that is just really subtle, and I think it's beautiful. Like these gold tones that come in with the purple, and it's just really, really, really stunning. I really love this. So I've just knit down the leg now, 64 stitches, again on a US size 1 needle. And I am ready to do the heel. I think I'm going to do a fish lipscus heel for this one. I contemplated doing an afterthought, but I'm not sure if doing an afterthought heel on crinkly yarn is the best idea. And yes, I know I could block it first, but then again, I don't really want to do that. So I think for simplicity, I'm just going to do a fish lipscus heel whenever I get around to that, and that will be that. So yeah, very excited about these, and I really want to pick them up again, because I kind of knit on those for 2 days, and then again, we were traveling and I didn't get any time for knitting, and I just kind of forgot about these. But that is my sock blank sock. And then the only thing I have left to show you is, of course, my sweater project, which is the Sipila sweater by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks. And you guys, I feel like I've done really well with my knitting lately. I'm not really finishing things, but I'm getting stuff done at least. So I finished the body of my sweater. Not sure what you can see. There you go. So, like I said, this is a sweater pattern by Caitlin Hunter. It is a top-down 2-color strand and color work yoke sweater. So I've done the color work. I have finished the body. I did a tiny bit of decreasing, especially in the back, to make it fit a little bit more, because the pattern is written sort of like a very oversized style, and I love Caitlin's patterns, but sometimes the fit is just not really the fit that I would go for, so I like to just adapt them a little bit. But I just did a 2x2 rib at the bottom, and now I need to, of course, knit some sleeves. I think I'm going to go for 3/4 length sleeves again, because that seems to be very, very wearable for me lately. And I feel like this is not a super wintry sweater. So that's what I'm planning on doing. In terms of yarn, I'm using Drops Flora, which is a wool and alpaca blend. It's a commercial yarn that I really quite like. And I used 3.5mm needles for this garment. So yeah, that is it. I love looking at it on the screen because I just think it's so beautiful. But yeah, I may be biased. I just think it's a beautiful design. Ever since I saw it being tested, I really wanted to knit it. The only thing that I'm going to do, and I think quite a few people have done in the past, is this sweater has quite a bit of color work on the sleeves, which for me personally is just a little bit too much. So I might not do that. In terms of Caitlin Hunter's patterns, there's another sweater being tested at the moment, which is all over color work, and I'm kind of tempted. It's kind of crazy, but I think it might be really, really awesome. And I've never done an all over color work sweater, so I think that might be a fun new thing to do sometime soon. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I have like a million sweaters that I want to knit, so yeah, let's just see. But yeah, that is it, and that is it for my works in progress. I feel like I'm speeding through this, but maybe not a bad thing. I used to be down to like 25 minutes, 30 minutes episodes, and then lately they have been a little bit more chatty, which I don't mind, but yeah. So with that, I think we will move on to some stash acquisitions. Where should I start? I'll start with this yarn, which is, I am part of the Neons and Neutrals Sock Club by Rachel Coopy, who is the amazing person behind Soxia. So if you're in the club and you haven't received your June shipment yet, I will show it, so please look away. But I think it's been out for a while, and I think post took a little bit to get to me, so you probably have seen it, and I don't think it's a huge club either. But you have been warned, I'm going to show the yarn. So the idea is that every month you get one skein of their new Neons range and then 2 complementary skeins which are more neutral to go with it, as well as a pattern. So the yarn that I got this time is this yarn. So it's this crazy neon green, which Kai loves. This is called Krypton. It's showing up quite nicely. And then these 2 teal ones, which are called Iolite. And these are 50-gram skeins of sock yarn. And I really love that Soxia base. So this is the label if you're into it. If you're interested, this is what it looks like by Coop Knits, who is Rachel Coopy. And it comes with a pattern, but the pattern doesn't come in a printed form, which I get is really good in terms of environment. But for these sort of things, I actually would like to have the pattern printed out and then store it with the yarn. But that's just me. And that's coming from someone who never prints their patterns, so maybe I'm just talking crazy. Anyways, the pattern that came with it, it's really pretty, but you know me, when you give me a yarn and a pattern, you can guarantee that I want to do something else. But Kai saw these colors, and like I said, he really liked them. And what the pattern is, it has sort of like, it's a very sort of crazy asymmetric pattern that has like crazy stripes at the top and then sort of like a patterned sock with just one color. So he doesn't want the pattern, but he really liked the ideas of having like crazy neon stripes at the top. So I think that's what I'm going to do for him. But I think I have a gray skein of this, or like a dark sort of charcoal in my stash. So I think I might combine this with a charcoal and then use these 2 for something else, because I like to keep the skeins of yarn together, and I know I don't need 150 grams of yarn for a pair of socks for Kai. But yeah, he wants me to cast this on immediately, of course. So maybe that'll happen today, maybe not. I'm not decided yet, but it could. So yeah, that showed up yesterday. And another thing that showed up, I say showed up, it's not like I didn't order it, it was so much, I just put the blame on Kay of the Bakery Bears podcast, and yeah, Kay Jones, I think is her name. I follow her on Instagram, and she posted some commercial sock yarn, and you know where this is going. And it was actually a brand of commercial sock yarn that I had wanted to try, I think like 2 years ago, but somehow I never got the colors that I wanted to try, and then I just kind of forgot about it. But I saw the yarn that she posted, and I justified it by saying, oh, well, you know, I can do a review for it. Justified, right? So anyways, the yarn that she showed is this German sock yarn, which is called Comfort Sockenwolle. There you go. And she just knit this up. This is just a really fun sort of self-striping, patterning yarn, and as soon as I saw it, I just wanted to buy it as well. So here it says, made in Italy for H&W, Germany. Not sure what that is, but I'll just show you. This is what it says. It's, like I said, Comfort Sockenwolle. I'm not sure where you can get it in terms of international shipping and stuff. Please just Google it if you really want it. And I got it in a German web shop, but I don't think they ship anywhere else. Anyways, this is colorway 218.05. I think this was called Frühlingsbote. I'm pretty sure. So I picked this up. Oh yeah, and you can see how it's going to knit up, which I think is really pretty. And like I said, I always wanted to try this yarn. I think I've never seen it in a local yarn store. And they have some really fun colors. So I thought, well, if you order 1, why not just order 3? So I picked up this color, which is, I think, really good guy colors. Again, this is sort of like self-striping, self-patterning. I just really like sort of like the mustard and blue together. I think it's a really fun color. This is colorway number 121702 from the same brand. And the last one that I picked up just because it looked really fun is this one. And this is kind of similar to the first one, but it's more with like grays and then stripes of all these fun sort of springy colors within the skein. And this is colorway number 11804. So all of these are the same base, and they do feel really nice. I'm really surprised. This yarn, it feels quite soft. It feels very springy. Again, it feels softer than a Regia does, which apparently I measure softness by Regia, Opal, and Knit Picks Felici at the moment. But this feels quite soft. The ply looks really nice. From what I can tell, yeah, it says 75% virgin wool, 25% polyamide. So it's just your basic sort of sock yarn blend, but I'm really curious. I kind of want to knit them up immediately, but then I also want to knit this up immediately, so you see where this is going. I really like these. I'll knit them up very soon, I think. I might take them on holidays because I love taking commercial sock yarn on holidays. You don't have to wind it. If you don't get around to knitting it, you can just put it back in the stash and you don't have to feel bad because it's all wound up and you have to reskein it and all that. So maybe I'll take those or one of those to France with me when we go in less than 3 weeks, which is so exciting. So yeah, that is it for yarn and stash enhancement and knitting content. And yeah, I don't really know what else to talk about. We've had a pretty busy week. Work has been busy, which apparently it always is, but I'm just so ready for a proper holiday soon. I know we've had like single days off and 3-day weekends and stuff, but I am very, very much needing a proper holiday where you get away and you kind of get to distance yourself from the whole work thing, which I'm sure you know sometimes it takes a while to actually sort of relax and let go. And that doesn't always happen just on a weekend. But yeah, we're going away in less than 3 weeks, so that should be good. Last weekend, or well, yesterday I should say, on Friday we drove up, we had the day off and we drove up to near Mannheim to go to our friend's wedding, which was really, really nice. It was basically one of Kai's school friends from like eons ago who got married, and we drove up. I think it took us like 4.5 hours to drive there, which was a pain. But it was a really beautiful location and it was just a big party essentially, but it was so beautifully done and you could see that someone handmade lots of things and put lots of love into it. And we just had a really good night. It was crazy hot. It was like 30 degrees at least and stayed hot throughout the entire night, which was of course perfect, but also very intense. And then we, of course, stayed overnight. And then yesterday we met up with my cousin who lives in the area. And then we drove back home, and I was actually really looking forward to just being at home and being back in Munich as well. But we had such a good time, and yeah, it was just really fun. And I love going to weddings. I guess everyone does, right? It makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. So yeah, now it's Sunday, unfortunately, which means tomorrow is Monday. I've got 2 weeks of work and quite a bit of travel ahead, but I'm hoping it won't be too stressful. And I'll take some knitting. I'll be back in Nuremberg, and I have to check out what time the yarn shop closes. I think I kind of want to go to the local yarn shop there. That was the first yarn shop, like proper nice yarn shop that I went to when I started knitting again like 4 years ago, and I haven't been back since. But I don't think it's very realistic that I get there, but we'll see. And you totally needed to know that, didn't you? But yeah, that's what's happening. Next weekend my sister is coming to visit, and yes, we are planning to go yarn shopping as well, so maybe I should stop the yarn shopping altogether. But that should be really, really fun. I'm looking forward to it. She's my middle sister and she's super crafty and loves like all things crafts. She's the one who went to a fiber festival with me in, when was it? March? February? Something like that. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm just waffling on now, so I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great Sunday. Have so much fun with your knitting, and I will see you soon. Bye!